Good evening. As a city administrator tonight, it is my pleasure to make two announcements. The first announcement is to introduce Dave St. Pierre as Lewiston's new police chief. Recently serving as the interim police chief, Dave has been with the department for over 29 years. His law enforcement career began in 1992. He served as various capacities, first as a patrol officer, then as a special agent with the Maine Drug Enforcement Agency, detective, sergeant of detectives, and lieutenant to both patrol and support services division, and also serving as the public information officer. His name most likely sounds familiar due to the many press releases and many media interviews that he's done for the Lewiston Police Department. Dave's earned his associate's degree in criminal justice from St. Aslam College and continues his education at the University of Southern Maine. He also graduated from the FBI National Academy's 271st session of March of 2018. His law enforcement career has rendered his experience in a vast array of public safety response. From being a field officer to holding many diverse roles, he will bring a well-rounded approach to the department. As chief, he will surely continue the excellence that the Lewiston police personnel have long provided the community of Lewiston. Congratulations, Dave. Dave, if you'd like to come up.
You can please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, David L. St. Pierre,
I, David L. St. Pierre,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and of the state of Maine,
and of the state of Maine,
and that I will faithfully discharge,
and that I will faithfully discharge,
to the best of my abilities,
to the best of my abilities,
the duties incumbent on me
the duties incumbent on me
as the Chief of Police
as the Chief of Police
for the City of Lewiston,
for the City of Lewiston,
according to the laws of this state
according to the laws of this state
and the Charter of the City of
and
Lewiston.
the Charter of the City of Lewiston.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
I'll try to get through this pretty quickly. It's about 12 pages, but no, it really isn't. So I want to apologize in advance if I forgot to thank somebody. All of you that are here shows great importance to me. So I'm very honored to be chosen as Lewiston's new police chief. I look forward to undertaking this new role after serving the city of Lewiston on the police department for nearly 30 years, as Heather stated. I have many thanks I wish to extend, as certainly have not achieved this position without the support of many throughout the years. I want to first thank City Administrator Heather Hunter for having the faith in my abilities and promoting me as the new chief. I also want to thank Brian O'Malley, who I will be replacing as chief. As most of you are aware, Brian has moved on to become the Deputy City Administrator here in Lewiston. In the years prior to him leaving the PD and choosing me as interim chief, Brian assigned me to the Support Services Division and included me in many administrative roles and functions. He's also provided me the opportunity to attend the FBI's National Academy, furthering my leadership education and training. I thank former Chief Bill Welch for causing me to apply to the Lewiston Police Department in the first place. He provided his guidance and input when I mentioned to him when I was in high school that I was considering a career in law enforcement. He was a school resource officer at the time and continued to maintain contact throughout my years while I was attending college. He urged me to submit my application and return here to my hometown of Lewiston. All of us in law enforcement know that no police officer can be successful without the support of family and friends. As such, I want to certainly extend my thanks to my parents, who are here, my family and friends, excuse me. As such, I want to extend my thanks to my parents, friends, and especially my wife, who have all put up with me while I work nights and overnight shifts, weekends, holidays, as well as dealing with those times when the phone rings late at night or early in the morning hours, along with the call-ins to investigate crimes that occurred when most everyone is sleeping. Lastly, I want to thank all of our dedicated men and women of the Lewiston Police Department who day in and day out serve our citizens unselfishly with a great amount of devotion. No leader is of any value without the support and dedication of their staff. I have a great deal of respect and appreciation for the entire LPD staff, from the civilian employees to the newest officer and all the way up to my supervisors and command staff who are vital in dealing with daily operations of the police department. Law enforcement is an increasingly challenging career that is not for everyone. It no longer consists of just completing investigations and simply arresting criminal offenders. Today, serving as a police officer means so much more than that. It means facing adversity and overcoming increasing challenges. It is now about providing counseling and resources to families in distress. It's about getting those suffering from mental illness or substance abuse disorder the help that they need. It is working out neighborhood disputes and working with at-risk youth, all the while continuing to perform the essential law enforcement functions such as traffic enforcement and holding those who victimize our community responsible for the crimes they commit. I will close by saying I'm very much looking forward to serving the citizens of the city of Lewiston, the city which I was born and raised and continue to call home. So thank you. Where am I going? Yeah. Should I put my hat on?
Yes. Yes.
Family, friends, anyone else want to put your Mom and dad, mom and dad photos? Brother? Brother?
Get my shot in.
All right, I got it, thank you.
I don't know if we can do it, but.
Good.
Oh, let's get those right.
Bob, come on this side here.
I don't want to be able to.
We good?
And for the second announcement, I'm equally as pleased to introduce Mark Caron, who will be sworn in this evening as Lewiston's new fire chief. He is a career professional in the Lewiston Fire Department beginning in 1996 as a firefighter. He has risen through the ranks of service, serving as lieutenant, interim assistant chief, assistant chief, and most recently the interim fire chief. He has an associate's degree in fire science from Southern Maine Community College and an associate's degree in computer science from Central Maine Community College. He has numerous firefighter and instructor and fire officer certifications. Mark has also served multiple terms as the vice president of the Lewiston Firefighters Association. Having served as both the firefighter and in fire administration, I believe he will bring much insight and perspective towards the future growth and development of the Lewiston Fire Department. Congratulations, Mark. I look forward to working with you. Come on up.
You raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Mark E. Caron,
I, Mark E. Caron,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and of the state of Maine,
and of the state of Maine,
and that I will faithfully discharge,
and that I will faithfully discharge,
to the best of my
to
abilities,
the best of my abilities,
the duties incumbent on me
the duties incumbent on me
as the fire chief
as the fire chief
for the city of Lewiston,
for the city of Lewiston,
according to the laws of this state
according to the laws of this state
and the charter of the city of Lewiston.
and the charter of the city of Lewiston.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Dave set the bar really high for me. I don't want to disappoint people, but thank all of you. Special thanks to the city administrator, the deputy city administrator, for offering me this opportunity. Special shout out to Mike DeJoy. Thank you for hiring me. I hope to continue, thank you. A special thanks to all the employees of the Lewiston Fire Department. We have a great staff. I look forward to working with all of them and building on the progress of prior chiefs and just continuing on the proud tradition of the Lewiston Fire Department. Thank all of you.
Okay, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the November 16th City Council Business Meeting. The first item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance, and if Councilor Jelinas could lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Roll call votes.
All roll call votes for this meeting will begin with the Councilor of Ward 1, and we'll also note for the record that Councilor Clement has an excused absence this evening.
Okay, thank you. I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes of October 19th.
So moved.
Second. Moved by Councilor LaJoy, seconded by Councilor Roebuck. All in favor?
Motion passed by a vote of 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Public comment period.
Madam, not
I
Madam Chair.
couldn't, I wasn't at the meeting, so I couldn't vote.
Oh, okay, thank you.
I
Sorry
told
about
you
that.
Madam Chair, I'm sorry. I don't know who that is.
You know what they say, he, him, her?
Yeah, we'll go over pronouns later.
Was there something you needed?
No, I was trying to
Okay,
help her.
thank you. All right. So we know how this meeting's gonna go the rest of the night, huh? Okay, we have a public comment period. Any member of the public may make comments regarding issues pertaining to Lewiston City Government. This period is reserved for non-agenda items. Public comments are also allowed during individual agenda items. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes per person. Please state your name for the record and if you're a Lewiston resident. Because this is a business meeting of the City Council, all questions should be directed to the mayor, who will then ask staff to follow up at a future time. And it is illegal for the City Council to allow comments related to personnel matters. All personnel complaints should be directed to the City Administrator. With that said, is there anyone from the public who would like to make a comment on a non-agenda item? Ma'am, if you could just step up to the podium or up to the table here.
Hello,
Good evening. If you could just introduce yourself.
my name is Sonia, and I've already spoken to somebody who told you I wasn't gonna be disclosing my location,
Okay.
because I do street ministry. I believe someone already pushed it.
that's fine.
Do I begin?
Do you mind? If you can have a seat if you'd like.
Thank you.
All right.
Sorry. Good evening, City Council members, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sonia, and I have been doing street ministry in the Lewiston Auburn area. I have come here to talk to you about the dire need for more shelters for the homeless people in this area. Homelessness is not an issue that you haven't heard before. In 2009, there was a 10-year plan to eliminate homelessness in this area that was adopted by the City Council of Auburn and Lewiston. Within the 27 pages of that plan, there was 5 key strategies mentioned to achieve this goal. I'm here to focus on 1, crisis response. Crisis response is defined as ensuring that emergency food, shelter, and healthcare are available. This particular key strategy may still be actively in effect. However, I'm here to say that there's definitely a disconnect when it comes to shelters. Up until this point, I have been walking the streets approximately 32 times, each time spending hours interacting with people, providing for them, praying for them, and trying to find out what the needs are. Over the course of this time, I have heard from almost everyone, including those in outreach, that we need more shelters. And I am still seeing new faces out there every day. As colder weather and other winter elements approach us, my concern and those of the people are growing. We're concerned because the winter elements will and have disabled people from being able to get basic things such as food, but we're also concerned because people have froze to death, gotten frostbite, and have literally stuck to the ground. The other concern is some of these people are becoming ill, both mentally and physically, and they are at great risk of contracting the COVID-19. According to National Health Care for the Homeless Council, people with homes suffer from the same illnesses as other individuals, but at rates 3 to 6 times higher. And on average, people without homes die 30 years sooner than people with homes. Lastly, in an article written by the Press Herald last month, it was stated that the statewide homelessness decreased in 2020 from 2,106 people to 2,097 people, but the share unsheltered people grew 48%. The numbers for this year have not been finalized. My hope is that more shelters will be opened to house the many people that are in need in this area. My suggestion is to create shelters out of the empty buildings and homes throughout the area. I thank you all for your time today and your consideration of this matter, and look forward to seeing what the city will do about having more shelters.
All right, thank you very much, Sonia, and thank you for the work that you do for the city of Lewiston.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Okay, thank you. Consent agenda?
Sure, there are 3 items on the consent agenda this evening. Number 1, authorization to accept transfer of forfeiture funds. Number 2, amendment to the traffic schedule to remove half-hour parking on a portion of Bridge Street and Spring Street. And number 3, amendment to the traffic schedule for truck weights regulated on a portion of Pleasant Street.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, moved by Councilor Ray, seconded by Councilor Jelinas. Call the roll.
Counselor from Ward 1,
Yes.
Ward 2,
Yes.
Ward 3,
Yes.
Ward 4,
Yes.
Ward 5,
Yes.
Ward 7,
Yes.
and Mr. Mayor.
Yes,
Motion passed by a vote of 7-0.
thank you. Agenda item number 4.
Item number 4, order authorizing execution of municipal quitclaim deeds for real estate located at 202 Blake Street and 190 Pine Street. Requested action to approve the orders authorizing execution of municipal quitclaim deeds for real estate located at 202 Blake Street and 109 Pine Street.
So moved.
Okay, moved by Councilor Ray, seconded by Councilor Mohammed. Questions or comments from the council? Okay, seeing none to the public. Back to the council. Call the roll, please.
Counselor from Ward 1,
Yes.
Ward 2,
Yes.
Ward 3,
Yes.
Ward 4,
Yes.
Ward 5,
Yes.
Ward 7,
Yes.
and Mr. Mayor.
Yes,
Motion passed by a vote of 7-0.
thank you. Agenda item number 5, please.
Item number 5, public hearing on new applications for a liquor license and a special amusement permit for MVK Housing Rental LLC, doing business as Community Event Center, 711 Webster Street. Requested action to authorize the city clerk's office to approve new applications for a liquor license and a special amusement permit for MVK Housing Rental LLC, doing business as Community Event Center, 711 Webster Street.
Okay, thank you. And with that, I'll open the public hearing. Is there any questions or comments from the council? Councilor Ray.
I think maybe it just has a confusing name. This is a restaurant?
No, so this isn't a restaurant, actually. It is a function hall. So I did speak with the owner this afternoon, the applicant this afternoon. When he filled out the state liquor license application, there's some predetermined categories, as you saw, and one of them was other.
Yeah.
And after we spoke with the state liquor department yesterday, their recommendation is that the applicant, before he sends in the state liquor application tomorrow, after potentially tonight's approval, he's going to cross off the reference to restaurant and check off other and write in function hall. So in speaking with the applicant, his intention is to run the business as it has been since, I believe, the 70s, as a function hall with a liquor license right there at that location.
But called housing rental also. There's a lot of things at play here.
So the name of the business that is owning this is called MVK Housing Rental LLC. That's the name of the business that is going to own the business. The doing business as, the name of the facility up there will be Community Event Center at 711 Webster.
Thank you for
Thank you.
guiding me through this.
Sure, thank you.
Okay, any other? Councilor LaJoy?
The applicant does realize that if he takes on any new addition or changes to that building, it'll be a change of occupancy with regards as to the district and how it's zoned.
Right, and so the city hasn't completed the inspections of the location, so the fire department will go up there and will determine occupancy load. The code department will go up there for review. The city's health inspector will go up there for review. Tonight is really just the first step, and the city council would be voting to authorize the business to move forward as far as submitting their liquor license application to the state. But the city clerk's office will not issue any licenses to the business until all the city departments that are applicable sign off, police, fire, and code. And we have spoken to the applicant, and we can certainly re-emphasize that for him, should he envision any sort of change of use at that location, it would require coming back to the city for additional paperwork and approvals and applications.
Okay. And he realizes he'll have to go in front of the planning board?
I'm not sure if we got to that level of an extent. Mr. Hediger may have reviewed that, I'm not sure, but we can certainly, as staff, review that with the applicant if he's looking for any sort of changes for the future.
Okay, the reason I'm asking is, of course, it's by district, and it's also the district of Councilor Clemens as well, on both sides of the street. That's how it's separated. And they're just worried with the noise volume. And of course, as you know, with the COVID situation, they haven't realized any type of noise there for a year and a half. And it's something like a new experience to them. So they're quite concerned with regards as to the activities that are going to transpire there. However, in speaking with you and David, today and so on, I feel comfortable that some of the changes that were made or that will be corrected as you accept the form will be appropriate. So I just wanted to mention that. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments from the council? Councilor Roebuck.
This could just be something minor, but going over, I noticed that question 10 on the sheet just wasn't answered, about if they had receiving directly, indirectly any money, credit, et cetera, that question just wasn't answered. So I was just wondering if that's something we could just make sure that does get filled out correctly.
Madam Clerk.
Sure, we'll be happy to share that with the applicant. Again, this is the state liquor license. The city has our own application regarding the food service establishment and the liquor license that doesn't need to go to city council. That staff is handling it, so we'll just point that out. But certainly the state, when they're doing the review, because this is their application, would certainly pick up on that. But we'll be happy to share that information with the owner as well. Thank you,
Great,
Councilor.
yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions from the council? All right, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to make a public comment? Good evening. If you could, either to the podium or the table, and then just introduce yourself.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
My name is Manuel Cambua. I'm the applicant. Thank you for answering the questions. Basically, I just want to share, my vision about the place. The first time I saw the 7-Eleven Webster Street was 2 years ago, and I saw the opportunity there. I was talking with a lot of people in the community, and they needed a space like that one for events. And when I saw the place, I realized that it's a great opportunity for me as an entrepreneur to do something related with the entertainment. And I'm a rule follower. So if anything that the city has, the neighbors, I'm aware about the noise complaining, and I'm also willing to work with any institution to make sure the noise doesn't bother the neighbors, and also to make sure the clients, they don't also complain that the song is too low. So I will work with anybody to make sure that everybody is on good shape, and everybody feel good about any kind of event that will be sponsoring there.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
We like rule followers. Thank you, sir. Okay, any other public comments? Seeing none, I'll close the public comment period, bring it back to the council. We have a motion on the table.
We do.
correct? Yeah, call
We
the roll.
actually do not, actually. I don't see a motion.
Oh, right, because you opened the public hearing right
That's
away.
right.
Okay.
So moved.
Seconded.
Okay, moved by Counselor Ray, seconded by Counselor Roebuck. And when you're ready, call the roll.
Counselor from Ward 1,
Yes.
Ward 2,
Yes.
Ward 3,
Yes.
Ward 4,
Yes.
Ward 5,
Yes.
Ward 7.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Motion passed by a vote of 7 to 0.
Okay, thank you. Agenda item number 6, please.
Item number 6, public hearing on the renewal application for a special amusement permit for live entertainment for the Carriage House Plus, 1119 Lisbon Street. Requested action to grant a special amusement permit for live entertainment to the Carriage House, 1119 Lisbon Street.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, moved by Counselor Jelinas, seconded by Counselor LaJoy. With that, I'll open the public hearing. Any questions or comments from the council? Seeing none to the public. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the council. Call the roll, please.
Counsel from Ward 1,
Yes.
Ward 2,
Yes.
Ward 3,
Yes.
Ward 4,
Yes.
Ward 5,
Yes.
Ward 7.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Motion passed by a vote of 7 to 0.
Thank you. Agenda item number 7, please.
Item number 7, public hearing on the renewal application for a special amusement permit for live entertainment for the Lewiston Urban Civic Center Enterprises doing business as Furland Management, 109 Birch Street. Requested action to grant a special amusement permit for live entertainment to the Lewiston Urban Civic Center Enterprises doing business as Furland Management, 109 Birch Street.
So move.
Second?
Okay, moved by Counselor LaJoy, seconded by Counselor Jelinas. With that, I'll open the public hearing. Any questions or comments from the council? Okay, seeing none to the public. I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the council. Call the roll, please.
Counsel from Ward 1,
Yes.
Ward 2,
Yes.
Ward 3,
Yes.
Ward 4,
Yes.
Ward 5,
Yes.
Ward 7,
Yes.
and Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Motion passed by a vote of 7 to 0.
Okay, thank you. Agenda item number 8.
Item number 8, public hearing on an application for a special amusement permit for live entertainment for the Franco-American Heritage Center, 46 Cedar Street. Requested action to grant a special amusement permit for live entertainment to the Franco-American Heritage Center, 46 Cedar Street.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, moved by Counselor Ray, seconded by Counselor Jelinas. With that, I'll open the public hearing. Any questions or comments from the council? Seeing none to the public. I'll close the public hearing, bring it back to the council. Are we being efficient this evening? Yes.
I'd like to excuse myself on this vote,
Okay.
having a relationship with the Franco Center.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Call the roll, please.
Counsel from Ward 1,
Yes.
Ward 2,
Yes.
Ward 3,
Yes.
Ward 5,
Yes.
Ward 7,
Yes.
and Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Motion passed by a vote of 6 to 0.
Okay, thank you. Agenda item number 9, please.
Item number 9, public hearing on an application for a special amusement permit for live entertainment for C40 Incorporated, 40 East Avenue. Requested action to grant a special amusement permit for live entertainment to C40 Incorporated, 40 East Avenue.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, moved by Counselor Ray, seconded by Counselor LaJoy. With that, I'll open the public hearing. Questions or comments from the council? Seeing none to the public. I'll close the public hearing, bring it back to the council. Call the roll, please.
Counsel from Ward 1,
Yes.
Ward 2,
Yes.
Ward 3,
Yes.
Ward 4,
Yes.
Ward 5,
Yes.
Ward 7.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes,
Motion passed by a vote of 7 to 0.
thank you. And our last public hearing, agenda item number 10, please.
Item number 10, public hearing and first passage for a proposed amendment to Chapter 18, Section 18-171 of the Code of Ordinances to reference the National Electrical Code 2020 edition, along with the amendments accepted by the Maine Electricians Examining Board pursuant to 32 MRSA Section 1153 and 1153A. Requested action that the proposed amendments to Chapter 18, Section 18-171 of the Code of Ordinances receive first passage by a roll call vote, and that the public hearing on said ordinances be continued to the next regularly scheduled city council meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, moved by Counselor Ray, seconded by Counselor Roebuck. With that, I'll open the public hearing. If we could just have staff give a very brief comment, and I believe this was workshopped recently.
Yes, it was. Just to be consistent with state law, the state has recently adopted the 2020 version of the National Electrical Code. We enforce that locally. We currently reference the 2014 code. This is a simple amendment, text amendment to reference that right version of the NEC.
Okay, thank you. Questions or comments from the council? Seeing none to the public. I'll close the public hearing, bring it back to the council. Call the roll, please.
Council from Ward 1,
Yes.
Ward 2,
Yes.
Ward 3,
Yes.
Ward 4,
Yes.
Ward 5,
Yes.
Ward 7,
Yes.
and Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Motion passed by a vote of 7-0.
Okay, thank you. And I'm going to move ahead, agenda item number 19. We have a student here who will be presenting, so we don't have the student here late into the evening. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and the City Council. We have a new facility at the former Hudson Bus location that is in need of a name and some amenities within the complex that also need a name. The Youth Advisory Council has decided to take on this project like they have in the past. It runs on a similar scope as the city approved for the Franklin Pasture naming rights. So Kara can introduce herself and talk about how the Youth Council is planning on taking on this project.
All right, thank you. Good evening. My name is Kira Potvin, and I am the Vice Chair of the Lewiston Youth Advisory Council. I'm here this evening because our Chair, Riley Emmer, has a schedule conflict. LYC was asked by City Administrator Hunter if we would be interested in developing a naming process for the park, field, sledding hill for the Hudson land on Bartlett Street. LYC was excited to take on this. LYC previously was very involved with the upgrades to Pierce Street Park behind Italian Bakery. And then we held a naming contest in 2012. It was changed to Mark W. Parody Park in memory of the former elected official. We have met twice to discuss this, how we wanted to move forward with the Hudson naming. And we decided we would like to have a contest for the park and then a sponsorship opportunity for the field and sledding hill. In your packet, there is a copy of some of the brainstorming ideas we've discussed. City Administrator Hunter gave her input on the cost of the monetary sponsorships, and we learned that the money for the field would be used for things such as signage maintenance, irrigation, and litter pickup. In your packet, you also have the contest form that will go out to the press release, and LIC members have some quotes to go along with that. The contest form does need 2 corrections. We want the contest due date to be December 16th. And since it's a contest form, we would take off the $50,000 sponsorship cost. We originally wanted to have a sponsorship cost for the field and sledding hill, but we would appreciate your input. Do you think that just the field or both the sledding hill and the field should have a naming cost? We also wanted to roll out each section of the naming offering separately, but we welcome your feedback on that as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Nice presentation.
Very nice.
Anything else?
No, I would turn it over to council questions at this point.
Okay, questions or comments from the council or thoughts on, let me just clarify with you. So we have the opportunity to name the field and the sledding hill together if the council decided, is that?
Yes.
Okay. Councilor Jelinas?
Thank you for that thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for that presentation. That was awesome. And this is really an exciting project for sure.
Yes.
I just want to make sure I'm understanding. So if you went with one name for the whole, center, complex, whatever, that's one thing. But am I right in assuming that there'd be less sponsorship opportunities if we did it that way?
Yes, so we want to do the 10,000, right, for the sledding hill was the sponsorship, and then 50,000 for the field.
Okay.
And then the contest would be the park itself, and we would open that up to the public to nominate someone, and then we would host an interview. It's in the packet, the contest form.
Yeah.
So just to kind of back up a little bit for clarification, the park itself could be named after a person, or the park could be named as a complex, depending on what is submitted. There's no sponsorship for that piece of the naming rights. The field itself would have a naming right similar to what is done in Franklin Pasture. And then it would be up to the council whether they wanted to, name the sledding hill, and if so, if they wanted to have a sponsorship tied to that naming right. Initially, we had talked about tying a sponsorship to that, but recognizing the maintenance and so forth isn't as high a cost as the field, you know, there was some flexibility with regards to that.
Councilor Ray and then Councilor Khalid.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for that presentation. And I can see in here that you had a concern that I often have when we talk about naming.
Yes.
Should we do a little checking on this? And so I think this has come up in a number of conversations in the past, and I think that's a good line to start down. And maybe we should have a Lewiston naming rights check in that sort of way. I mean, I've always been of the opinion that maybe we should wait until someone has passed, until we name something after them, because that future-proofs it as well. But I guess great minds think alike there. I am definitely interested in the sponsors. Oh my gosh, sorry, it's been a really long day. The sponsorship for the field naming, I think tying in that upkeep is really important. Whereas the sledding hill, what is there upkeep? I don't know what you.
And
need to
there's
do
maintenance in the summer and
Okay.
mowing and that type of thing, but clearly the larger budgetary impact is on the field side of the complex.
I don't know that I'm so worried about the sledding hill then, but it would be great to see what you all come up with and what proposals you get. So I'm encouraged.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilor Khalid.
Thank you, and thank you for your presentation. Just to clarify, so the submission date is going to be December 16th?
Yes.
Okay. Just my one comment is, I think, I don't know, just for consistency, having the field and the sledding hill the same name or same sponsorship, something I would vote for.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And any other thoughts on Field and Sledding Hill? I kind of agree with, I think, Councilor Khalid. I think we bring too many names down to that location. That could be confusing for the public. All right. Have we given you the guidance that you need?
Yes, thank you.
All right. Yeah.
So, Mr. Mayor, the requested action would read as presented with the deletion of the sledding hill being a named amenity.
Okay. And there's no motion yet on the table, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So I'll, if we're all done with questions, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve.
Second.
All right, moved by Councilor Khalid, seconded by Councilor LaJoy. Any other further questions from the council? Councilor Ray?
That's approved as amended with taking out the sledding hill. Thank you.
Okay. Seeing none to the public. Okay, back to the council. Call the roll, please.
Counselor from Ward 1,
Yes.
Ward 2,
Yes.
Ward 3,
Yes.
Ward 4,
Yes.
Ward 5,
Yes.
Ward 7, and Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Motion passed by a vote of 7-0.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you,
Okay,
guys.
agenda item number 11, please.
Item number 11, amendment to the electrical permit fee schedule, policy manual number 16 regarding solar panel installations. Requested action to approve the proposed amendments to the electrical permit fee schedule, policy manual number 16 regarding solar panel installations as recommended by the Planning and Code Enforcement Department.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, moved by Councilor Ray, seconded by Councilor Khalid, and Dave, if we could, just very briefly.
This too, we talked about at the workshop in October. We currently don't have a fee for solar installations, so we're kind of all over the place with what we charge people. We're not consistent. We need to clean that up. So in front of you, you have proposals for 1 and 2 family and commercial. 1 and 2 family, we've come up with just a flat fee. Originally, we were charging on the number of panels. Now it's just a flat fee of $40. Keeps it simple for staff, keeps it simple for the applicants. As far as commercial goes, we did provide you an option on the 19th, and there was some concern by a couple councilors about whether or not we were actually charging enough with that. So, provide you another option, and I guess I'm looking to the council for some guidance. If you look in your memo, there's a table in there. I apologize, the formatting kind of got off-centered there. But we have the existing fee where we're basically charging $42 for any size solar installation for electrical purposes. On October 19th, we gave you a fee schedule that varied upon the kilowatts of that facility. There was some question again about whether or not we were charging enough, so I've come up with an option 2 here that basically raises the amount that would be charged for each additional 100 kilowatts of a facility. To try to put that in perspective, I've given you a comparison of an existing solar facility is being built on Merrill Road right now. The memo has the prices that we would be charging for that. Again, what we presented on October would be a fee of about $630. The new option that I have for you folks tonight would bring that up to $4,175. We've also looked at a number of the other communities to see what they're charging, and you can see their rates are kind of all over the place. Unfortunately, solar is new for a lot of communities, so everyone's trying to figure out like how to permit this and what the process is going to be. So at this point, certainly I would recommend that you folks move forward with a fee schedule amendment for the residential as proposed. And then I'm looking for guidance as to if you folks want to go with the original option that we presented on the 19th, or if you'd like to go with option number 2.
Okay, questions or comments? Councilor Ray?
I appreciate the new numbers. I'm more in favor of option 2 because I think, you know, it's this median between some of the larger communities and what's locally happening. Do we also look into, I know you sent us a bunch of stuff about decommissioning, but can you refresh us on how that gets looped into this conversation?
Yeah, at the last meeting or at that workshop, there was some question about, are these facilities going to be a problem down the road? The city itself was concerned with that. We had some decommissioning language that we've applied as conditions of approval to these projects, and since then DEP regulates nearly all of these facilities and requires decommissioning as well, so now we're starting to use their language as well.
Great, thank you.
Any other comments or recommendation on the fee? Everybody comfortable with Councilor Ray's suggestion? Okay, so that should provide you that. With no comments, questions from the council to the public? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the council. Call the roll.
Council from Ward 1,
Yes.
Ward 2,
Yes.
Ward 3,
Yes.
Ward 4,
Yes.
Ward 5,
Yes.
Ward 7,
Yes.
and Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Motion passed by a vote of 7-0.
Thank you. And then real quick on that agenda item, so I've had conversations, we spoke about property taxes, and anything under 5 megabucks was tax-free, basically. So it's my understanding when the law was created, they were trying to protect homeowners who had solar installations, so they came up with a number. I do believe the information I'm getting is that the legislature believes that created a loophole for businesses, and I think they're hopefully in the next session will be correcting that loophole so that hopefully municipalities will see property tax. So I share that with you, Dave, just if maybe your staff could kind of keep an eye on that and provide testimony or recommendations to our local delegation in support of that.
Sure.
Okay, good, thank you. And you might as well stay right there. I think we have another one with you. Agenda item number 12, please.
Item number 12, repeal of the current electrical permit fee schedule, policy manual number 16, and adoption of a replacement electrical permit fee schedule, policy manual number 16. Requested action to repeal the current electrical permit fee schedule, policy manual number 16, and to adopt the replacement electrical permit fee schedule, policy manual 16, as recommended by the Planning and Code Enforcement Department.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilor Khalid, seconded by Councilor LaJoy. And if you could, Dave, just briefly.
Sure. Again, we had a discussion about this at the workshop. This is an effort to basically streamline the existing electrical permit fee schedule. We've consolidated a number of fees. We've done some rounding. The fee schedule hasn't changed since July of 2014. We initially brought some changes back, maybe it was a year ago, just as a discussion, and there was some sense, I think, that we were looking for too much of an increase, so we've toned that down considerably. In your packets, you have showing what's both proposed and existing for residential and commercial. Residential really hasn't changed much at all. We've rounded that just, again, to make it simpler and consolidated, basically permit use groups. Commercial, there is a little bit bigger increase there. I don't think it's anything that's unreasonable, but we've been mindful to try to, similar to solar, keep single families and two families reasonable. We're not looking to penalize anybody, but single family homes, we don't want to discourage them from getting permits at all. Commercial, those are professional installations being done by licensed electricians. They should know that there's permits required as well. So in your packet, you have both the existing and proposed for comparison, and then just what the existing permit fee schedule looks like to give you an example of how we're consolidating a number of the groups in an effort to try to make it a little simpler for everybody.
Okay, thank you. Questions or comments from the council? Seeing none to the public. Back to the council.
If I can, Mr. Mayor, just one point of note, I did make an assumption that you guys were gonna go with option 2 for solar, so this does have, took into consideration your last motion. So what you see in here does have that option 2 already taken into consideration.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Jelinas.
I was just going to say thank you, David. I mean, I remember that discussion a year ago when we were talking about some of those increases, and we had that discussion about, you know, gosh, it seems pretty steep. When I look at what's existing and what's been proposed, this looks very reasonable, so thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Ray.
I see you didn't change the belated fees that I had said maybe we could put more teeth in. Is there any reason for that, or you just felt it was reasonable where it was?
That's more than we charge for the other permits right now.
Yeah. For like late or re-inspections?
Yeah, for like
Okay.
a building permit and whatnot
That's
like that,
helpful
so, yeah, I did not change it.
I was really excited about my idea.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from the council? Okay, call the roll.
Council from Ward 1?
Yes.
Ward 2?
Yes.
Ward 3?
Yes.
Ward 4?
Yes.
Ward 5?
Yes.
Ward 7?
Yes.
And Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Motion passed by a vote of 7-0.
Thank you. Agenda item number 13.
Item number 13, amendment to the amendment to the personnel policies, policy manual number 22, to add Juneteenth, June 19th, as a legal holiday for city government. Requested action to approve proposed amendments to the personnel policies, policy manual number 22, adopting Juneteenth, June 19th, as a city holiday, as recommended by city administration.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, moved by Councilor Khalid, seconded by Councilor Ray. And I believe we have a brief presentation.
Yeah, brief presentation. I, for one, am extremely excited that the city of Lewiston has publicly recognized Juneteenth, the oldest nationally celebrated commemoration of the ending of slavery in the United States, as a federal holiday. I think it's important to share a little bit about the history to the public, so bear with me as I share what's on the memo. On Freedom's Eve, December 31st, 1862, the first watch night service took place. Enslaved and free African Americans gathered in churches and private homes all across the country, anticipating the news that the Emancipation Proclamation had taken effect. At the stroke of midnight, all enslaved people in Confederate states were declared legally free. Union soldiers marched onto plantations across cities, celebrating and reading small copies of the doctrine that promised them their freedom. The next day, January 1st, 1863, came 87 years after the United States declared its own freedom from British rule. The words, "All men are created equal," finally lawfully applied to all Americans. However, though the Emancipation Proclamation became law, it could not be enforced in places still under Confederate control. It took over 2 years for an estimated 250,000 Texan slaves to learn that the government had secured their freedom. June 19th marks the day that federal troops arrived in Galveston, Texas, to take control of the state, ensuring that all enslaved people be free. It honors the day of slavery and remains a powerful reminder of how endurance, perseverance, courage, and resistance have a direct impact on the change in the world. It's a beautiful thing when government, whether local, state, or federal, ensures laws intended to positively impact its residents be implemented in a way that ensures that no community is left behind. Meaningful moments like this, though minor to some, are a step forward in the right direction. I encourage you to take time to reflect and learn and gain a better understanding of our past. And on Juneteenth, I hope we can all honor the struggles of our Black community, because that is how we move forward and create a community of excellence. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that with the public. I would also, with the city administrator's permission, maybe we could put that up on our social media, your comments there, because that's a lot of good information and I think eye-opening for the community.
Thank you.
All right, we have a motion on the table.
We do, yes.
Okay. Questions or comments from the council? Councilor Khalid.
I just want to express my thanks and appreciation to the director and city administration for recognizing and acknowledging the importance of this holiday. So thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Seeing Councilor Mohammed.
Not really like a question, but it's kind of, there's so many holidays in this country, but I mean, is this also, I know, I just saw that right now, I'm a little bit doing, like a Google and trying to find and to learn more about this holiday. So, is this holiday also known as Jubilee Day?
Jubilee Day?
Yeah, what is that?
I don't think so. I'm not too sure, but I don't want to confuse the two.
Okay.
And I feel like Jubilee might be a more cultural holiday.
Okay, all right. That's very much, I mean, it says like Juneteenth National Independence Day and also known as a Jubilee Day, so I'm a little bit confused where it's originally came from and what it is, but thank you, I mean, bring this.
And so the June 19th, or Juneteenth,
Yeah.
Is in celebration, and correct me if I'm wording this wrong, of the slaves being freed.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I would be curious to find out if Jubilee would be a more slang term for celebration, and that's like for a joyous celebration, so I would look into that.
It could be.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, to the public, any comments from the,
Yeah.
okay, seeing none, back to the council.
Yeah, I did a little bit, it's a good question. So from what I can tell from a few articles from other papers, Jubilee Day was the celebration of the Emancipation Proclamation being signed, which was a full 2 years before Juneteenth. So they are what it looks like to be separate days, but Jubilee Day is not a federal recognized holiday.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Ray.
I just want to thank Director Hugh again for, the strides we've made since you came on board in making the city of Lewiston a more equitable employer, as well as just a more equitable city, have been immense. How long have you been here now?
3 months.
Wow. Like, holy cow. I encourage folks to look up any meeting that Director Hugh has presented to us, because the education that this body and the public gets from having a director focused on this work, it's just so beneficial to this city. So truly, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments from the council?
I'd just like to second what Councilor Ray said as well. It's been great, and as as mentioned, that it's one of the longest, celebrated holidays regarding this. I learned about this 3-4 years ago. So there's definitely, a lot of work that needs to be done, but this is a great step to move forward, and very excited to be recognizing this.
All right, thank you. All right, seeing no more questions, call the roll.
Counselor from Ward 1?
Yes.
Ward 2?
Yes.
Ward 3?
Yes.
Ward 4?
Yes.
Ward 5?
Yes.
Ward 7?
Yes.
And Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Motion passed by a vote of 7-0.
Thank you. Agenda item number 14.
Item number 14, resolve to confirm the city administrator's appointment of Ralph Linfesti to the position of Finance Director Treasurer as required by the city charter. Requested action to adopt the resolve confirming the appointment of Ralph W. Linfesti as the Finance Director Treasurer for the city of Lewiston in accordance with the city charter.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, moved by Councilor LaJoy, seconded by Councilor Khalid. Presentation or comments from the city administrator?
Certainly. Ralph has been my right-hand man for the last 20-ish, 24 years. Time flies when you're having fun. I'm sure he's looking forward to the challenges placed before him, and it is with great pleasure that I would recommend this approval.
Okay, thank you. Questions or comments from the council? Councilor Ray.
Really doesn't get any better than 24 years of experience in the job right next to it. So I'm excited for you, Ralph.
Okay. Anything else from the council? Seeing none to the public. Back to the council. Call the roll, please.
Council from Ward 1?
Yes.
Ward 2?
Yes.
Ward 3?
Yes.
Ward 4?
Yes.
Ward 5?
Yes.
Ward 6? I'm sorry, Ward 7, sorry.
Yes.
And Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Motion passed by a vote of 7-0.
All right, and we'll have a quick swearing-in ceremony.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Ralph W. Lenfesti,
I, Ralph W. Lenfesti,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and of the state of Maine,
and of the state of Maine,
and that I will faithfully discharge,
and that I will faithfully discharge,
to the best of my abilities,
to the best of my abilities,
the duties incumbent on me
the duties incumbent upon me
as the Finance Director
as the Finance
for
Director
the City of Lewiston,
for the City of Lewiston,
according to the laws of this state
according to the laws of this state,
and the Charter of the City of Lewiston.
the Charter of the City of Lewiston.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Agenda item number 15.
Item number 15, public hearing regarding the approval of first amended Saxon Partners, the residents at Great Falls Municipal Tax Increment Financing District and Code Enhancement Agreement. Requested action to approve the first amended Saxon Partners, the residents at Great Falls Municipal Tax Increment Financing District and Credit Enhancement Agreement as attached or in similar form. Authorize the city administrator to execute the document and authorize city staff to submit the required paperwork to the Maine Department of Economic and Community Development, and to amend the term, performance dates, and other amendments of the Saxton Partners residents at Great Falls TIF District and Program.
So moved.
Okay, moved by Councilor Ray, seconded by Councilor Mohammed. And I believe we'll have a presentation from our Director of Economic Development, a brief one, I think.
A brief one, we will do our best. We have David Calhoun who came up all the way from Hingham, Mass, so if you've got any questions, he's here to help see this through. It's a relatively simple amendment. It's really, this is a project that, with all the cost overruns that happened with COVID coming on and made financing more challenging, has made construction significantly more expensive. So under the original agreement, they were to have the building completed by next April at full value. They will not have even started construction likely by then. So they had asked us if we could extend the term of the TIF. It was a 22-year TIF to begin with. We're adding 3 years to it. So the actual term of the TIF district is 25 years, but the actual active time is still just 20 years, which is the way it was originally structured. And this is really just kind of mechanics to make sure we abide by state law and statute as to amending the TIF. They very much want to make the project happen, but they need to let the dust settle at this point. So all the red ink in the draft you saw was mostly dates being changed. The one change of substance was originally, Saxon was a great partner, said, look, if you want to put that second water line coming over from Lake Auburn, we'll allow it to come across the northern end of our lot so we can get to Avon Street. We have since determined that's not the best site for that. So as I was going through the document, making amendments, I said, let's just take that easement is no longer needed, so I struck it from the language. That's the one other change of substance.
All right, thank you. Questions or comments from the council? Councilor Ray?
Just two questions. So the first is, this is called the first amended agreement. Are we anticipating other amendments? I guess, when you put in a sequential number.
Yeah, to be fair, no, we don't anticipate it, but to be fair, we did have one, I think we went through 7 amendments. I'm not thinking this is getting lined up, but that's outside of my purview. Yeah, lawyers were being lawyers, so, good question, but I can't.
Can you tell I'm in law school?
Our hope is that we will hit the new goals.
Okay, and then my second question was, so I saw that you struck the easement. Is that something we could negotiate again if we do need a different easement? Would we just open the agreement again? Or that's just totally not viable?
For the water
Yeah.
pipeline, really, yeah, Mary, I had checked with Public Works before I struck
Okay.
it. And the
We just
planning
will
is,
never need that.
engineering, yeah, we are not going to use that
Okay.
site anymore, so,
Great, thank you.
yeah.
Any other questions or comments from the council? Seeing none to the public. Back to the council. Call the roll, please.
Counselor from Ward 1,
Yes.
Ward 2,
Yes.
Ward 3,
Yes?
Ward 4,
Yes.
Ward 5,
Yes.
Ward 7,
Yes.
and Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Motion passed by a vote of 7-0.
All right. Thank you, and thank you for traveling up for such a brief period. Thank you very much. Thank you. Agenda item number 16.
Item number 16, order creating and appropriating 2 full-time positions, a library assistant and a recreation building coordinator, and transfer of funds from the respective temporary wage accounts and salary reserve to fund the positions. Requested action to approve the order creating and appropriating 2 additional full-time positions, 1 each in the recreation and library departments, transfer the temporary wages to the respective salary account, and fund the balance needed through the city's salary reserve.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, moved by Councilor Roebuck, seconded by Councilor Ray. And Marcella, if you could just share your thoughts on this proposal.
Good evening. The proposed use of this library assistant position would be in our lending services division. This is the first division that you encounter when you walk into the library, so the first person to greet you when you walk in the library. And right now, this tends to be a rotating group. They can work a maximum of 19 hours a week, but that doesn't always last for very long. So in terms of training, in terms of building good customer service representatives, we really struggle to maintain that. And in this hiring environment, it's especially difficult to find good, quality, experienced customer service individuals. And so by replacing those temporary hours with 1 full-time position, we're hopeful that we could really invest in that person and bring somebody on board who could really do great things at that position and really be a welcome face for the city.
Great, thank you. Questions or comments from the council? Seeing none to the public. Back to the council. Councilor Ray.
Will we also hear from the recreation director since they're both under this?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Look at her smiling.
I can't let her get away with it.
Yes, Councilor Jelinas, did you have a question?
Well, I was just going to say, I'm really excited about this position, really excited, as I am the next one coming up.
right.
Sorry.
Yeah, I apologize about
That's all
that.
I was going to fly under the radar there for a minute. My name's Nicole Welch. I'm the Recreation Director. So the position we're currently talking about, we are currently taking 2 part-time positions that has been held by an employee of the Recreation Department for 3 or 4 years. It's traditionally been a part-time programmer aide, part-time building monitor. And just the nature of the positions, the person has been working more than 2 part-time positions combined. So with the added hours for this person, we're gonna be able to offer more free time, more free programming out in the parks. We've been doing some free park programs recently. We've also instituted a after-school open gym program that are a couple days a week, so we can be using this person to help fill those time slots, not taking away from myself. I love hanging out with the kiddos from 2 to 4, but I'd like to, slide somebody else in that slot. And right now, we're actually having a difficult time filling our senior coordinator position, so for the time being, this person will also kind of help oversee some of those program hours as well.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Questions or comments from the council? Okay, seeing none to the public. Okay, back to the council. Call the roll, please.
Counselor from Ward 1,
Yes.
Ward 2,
Yes.
Ward 3,
Yes.
Ward 4,
Yes.
Ward 5,
Yes.
Ward 7,
Yes.
and Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Motion passed by a vote of 7-0.
Thank you. Agenda item number 17, please.
Item number 17, resolve accepting the donation of property at 73 Louise Avenue. Requested action to approve the resolve accepting the donation of property at 73 Louise Avenue.
So moved.
Okay, moved, and you'll have to just speak up a little bit for us.
Second,
Yep,
yeah.
thank you. Moved by Councilor LaJoy, seconded by Councilor Mohammed. Questions or comments from the council? Okay, seeing none to the public. Back to the council. Call the roll.
Council from Ward 1,
Yes.
Ward 2,
Yes.
Ward 3,
Yes.
Ward 4,
Yes.
Ward 5,
Yes.
Ward 7,
Yes.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Motion passed by a vote of 7-0.
Thank you. Agenda item number 18.
Item number 18, order authorizing the change in scope for the Phase 2 truck scale replacement scale management upgrades. Requested action to approve the order authorizing the change in scope for the Phase 2 truck scale replacement scale management upgrades.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, moved by Councilor LaJoy, seconded by Councilor Roebuck, and I think we workshopped this just last week. But if we could have a brief reminder for the public.
Sure. This is just authorization for a change in scope. So the traffic scale project had a pole barn that was over the scale, the new scale system, that wasn't going to be able to be afforded in the budget that we had with the current prices skyrocketing and delays in delivery. So we did change in scope to kind of look at the whole site being improved. And we feel like the elimination of the pole barn and the consideration of the improvements of the whole site better serves the citizens up at the solid waste facility.
All right, thank you. Questions or comments from the council? Seeing none to the public. Back to the council. Call the roll, please.
Council from Ward 1,
Yes.
Ward 2,
Yes.
Ward 3,
Yes.
Ward 4,
Yes.
Ward 5,
Yes.
Ward 7,
Yes.
and Mr. Mayor.
Yes,
Motion passed by a vote of 7-0.
thank you. Agenda item number 20.
Item number 20, order accepting and appropriating the fiscal year 2021 Homeland Security Grant Award of $160,456.28. Requested action to approve the order accepting and appropriating the fiscal year 2021 Homeland Security Grant Award of $160,456.28.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, moved by Councilor Jelinas, seconded by Councilor Mohammed, and I believe our fire chief has a brief presentation.
I was just here to answer any questions you have. Annually, we apply for the Homeland Security Grant, and this year we were awarded $160,456 to be used for, this year we wanted to upgrade our self-contained breathing apparatus. It funds the Cobra team as well as hazmat training and some surveillance projects for the police. So it's used for public safety. We get it every year.
Yeah, and this has been going, I mean, this grant's been available to communities for nearly 20 years, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, significant money has come to this community and some really good projects, so thank you for the administration of that, as well as our police department. Councilor LaJoy.
Is there a city share on that?
No.
Okay.
Oh.
It's not like the one that, well, that we used to have, like the first one when I was in, that I received was 325,000, and it was 32,000, 10%.
Yeah, I believe that was a Department of Agriculture grant. These are post 9/11 Homeland Security
Okay.
grants. It comes to the Lewiston Auburn metro area as well as like 9 other metro areas, and then it goes to county EMAs after that. They have, they divide it up amongst the county. They have certain criteria, specified projects that you have to fall into.
That's great.
But they're all public safety related, so we're always able to identify some projects that meet the criteria.
I'm happy to see it's finally happening, so that's great. Thanks.
So back when you applied for grants, we had horse and buggy fire trucks back then.
Yeah, the comedian.
All right, questions or comments from the council? Councilor Ray.
Thank you. The self-contained breathing apparatus, is that 88,000 going to cover replacing all of them?
It's gonna help. We're gonna have some city funds go along with that.
How much is this helping, I guess?
Maybe 20%.
Okay, and you have to have one for each firefighter, right?
Yeah, so we're looking at our current system. The manufacturer has notified us that they're no longer manufacturing them and they're not servicing them. So our repair costs and parts replacement has gone up exponentially. What we used to pay, you know, a few $100s for is a few thousand now. So within a couple of years, we won't even be able to obtain parts for these. So this is really time sensitive. That we have to move on this. And the Homeland Security grant will definitely help towards funding that project.
And will the rest go through the capital improvement plan, or is that going to be part of the operational budget to fund the
Yes.
rest?
Capital improvement.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Councilor Jelinek.
Yeah, I just have one. So I understand that there's a grant process that you have to go through to apply for these funds. Were we given what we applied for, or do you apply for an amount and then get a percentage of what you asked for?
Well, Chief Stockdale submitted this request. It was prior to me being chief. He was still here. This was set in motion in the spring.
Okay.
But they have criteria, and you just have to meet the criteria. They tell you how much you're going to get, and you have to plug in the projects that you want.
Gotcha. Thank you.
If I could go back to Councilor Ray's question, just a reminder, fund balance this year funded half of the breathing apparatus. The fire chief is getting ready to issue an RFP for purchase for we have not been able to determine what the pricing is yet to determine how much of the total project we have funded. To the chief's point, it is put in the LCIP typically because of the nature, although it's expensive, it's really an inventory or a part for the department, so it will probably be recommended. Any balance would be through fund balance requests for the next year's budget program.
Okay, can I follow up? And it goes through, it's a fairly one-time expense, and then we do maintenance for its use of life, right?
Correct. We
Okay.
do replacement costs and repairs
Okay.
after that.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the council? Councilor LaJoy.
Chief, is Ballard still working on the SCBA's?
Yes, he is. He still does. If we get the new SCBA's, they'll be warranted, so that will save us a lot of operating costs and his time.
Right. But even with Ballard working on the current unit, saves a lot of money from sending it into the company. And I know that previously, it would cost us $100 just for a bench charge. And it was an O-ring that cost 55 cents.
Yeah, absolutely. Ballard Nash is our maintenance technician, and you know, he's a very valuable employee. He does a lot for us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Councilor Khalid.
Just one question. What makes us qualify for this grant?
What makes the city qualify for this grant?
Yeah.
It's because we have applied initially, and then it's a renewal process after that. We partner with the city of Auburn, we partner with the county, and undertake public safety initiatives to improve public safety. Normally, they're fall in one of three categories: training, exercises, capital replacement, and sometimes more supply-related costs. Most recent grants have helped fund both municipalities, both Lewiston and Auburn, in the radio replacement project. That was part of the rather expensive program to replace the radios for both communities.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments from the council? To the public? Fastly losing our public. Back to the council. Call the roll, please.
Counselor from Ward 1?
Yes.
Ward 2?
Yes.
Ward 3?
Yes.
Ward 4?
Yes.
Ward 5?
Yes.
Ward 7?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Motion passed by a vote of 7-0.
Thank you. Agenda item number 21.
Item number 21, order to approve the disposition of the AL Municipal Airport's surplus property. Requested action to approve the order to approve the disposition of the AL Municipal Airport's surplus property.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilor Jelinas, seconded by Councilor Ray. Briefly, Heather, can you just explain that?
Certainly, in accordance with the airport's bylaws, any surplus property that individually exceeds $1,000 must obtain permission from both municipalities in order to dispose of it.
Okay, thank you. Questions or comments from the council? To the public? Back to the council? Call the roll, please.
Counsel from Ward 1?
Yes.
Ward 2?
Yes.
Ward 3?
Yes.
Ward 4?
Yes.
Ward 5?
Yes.
Ward 7?
Yes.
And Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Motion passed by a vote of 7-0.
Thank you. Agenda item number 22, reports and updates. Councilor Ray.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was hoping that today I could tell you that the county budget was passed by the county commission. They tabled it. So tomorrow, Vice Chair Alan Ward will be presenting again the proposed county budget from the budget committee. I am already starting to study for finals, so I'm excusing myself from that. The percent increase, because I know Administrator Hunter wants to hear this, is 6.75%. Again, as I've said before, that is largely driven by the revenues and the reserves being way, way down this year. Obviously, COVID happened. A lot of revenues were down from that. And then also the jail did not really receive support from the state this year. So that's interesting and fun. I'll email everyone if that passes tomorrow night. They might make some adjustments, so that number is only going up, is my understanding. So sorry about that. We did our best work. There were a lot of really large numbers cut from reserves, but I think the county commission might reinstate some of those reserves tomorrow night.
Can you remind us where the budget increase started at?
Started at 12.53%, I believe. Again, expenditures are only up like, I don't know, like maybe $300,000. It's just those revenues and reserves and yeah.
All right, thank you. Any other questions or comments to that? Okay, thank you. Any other reports and updates? Okay, seeing none, agenda item number 23.
Item number 23, any other business counselors or others may have relating to Lewiston City Government.
Councilor Khalid.
I just want to say that I have brought two proposals forward for the council's consideration. One regarding immigration status and another regarding right to housing. So I would like that to be in the agenda for December 7th so that the council can debate and consider, but also for the public to get notice and that they can, come and speak for it or against it.
Okay, so typically, when councilors talk about a zoning change, they would present that to staff who would vet it in the sense, making sure it's legal, getting advice from our city attorney. Have you done any of that have you even had a conversation with the city administrator about this?
I have sent an email to the council, which I've also CC'd Heather, city administrator, and I don't think we ever really talked about a formal process that councilors can put forward proposals or some sort of ordinance. So therefore, I think the best way I could have done it was just give the council a heads up and for a future date to bring up the two proposals for public notice, but also for council to consider and therefore vote.
Councilor Ray.
You referenced a zoning change. Which proposal is that in?
I'm not sure I understand what you're asking. So I said zoning, but it's an ordinance that
Oh,
she's
okay,
speaking
you
of.
meant ordinance, okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to, especially, in light of public comment tonight, about housing and shelter, the right to housing, proposal that Councilor Khalid has sent around seems important to address before we get deeper into winter. That I can I take the mayor's point that, it would be helpful to have staff looped in on this, and I know we did receive an email today, from the director of GA about, shelter information, but, I remain, not totally convinced that, the shelters that we do have at our disposal are adequate, especially given that they do have religious affiliations, and that's not for everyone. I guess one question I do have, the shelter at the Ramada is done at this point, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. As of what date?
That was the end of October, I believe.
Okay, and as we head into the winter months, I'm especially sensitive to it now that I'm driving in and out of the community more often and less in my neighborhood, just seeing folks at night, especially who are experiencing homelessness at this point in their lives. And as we get deeper into winter, I think that would be important to address.
Yeah, so I agree, but I also say, by state law, our community has to provide housing. All someone has to do is reach out to our general assistance. If it's after hours, all they have to do is reach out to a police officer. So this is holding us to an ordinance, but by state law, we already have to do everything that's in that ordinance. So that's on that subject. On the other potential ordinance in reference to immigration and police officers asking, our police officers, for the most part, do not ask about immigration. So I see these as two decisive proposals at the very end of our term. So I throw that out there. That's my concern about this. That's why I would struggle ever supporting either one of those, because we already do exactly what it's saying. So that's my concerns. I know I'm looking at Councilor Ray, but Councilor Khalid, that's my biggest concern, is we already do this stuff. I do believe there's plans in works, and probably at the beginning of next year, there will be a proposal in reference to a shelter here in Lewiston. But I do, that's still in the works. But we're asking this council to take on two subjects that is just gonna, I think, is gonna be challenging subjects when we already do those things. So that's why I struggle with these. Councilor Khalid.
Regarding that comment that we already do them, then we shouldn't have a problem just putting it in our, making it a rule that we can, follow and continue to commit to doing if we already do them, so.
But we do it because it's the state law, and that ordinance actually opens the door to civil liability to our city, which that doesn't make sense that any councilor or mayor would put something in place that opens us up to liability. But we already, state law. If we violate that, we would have the state authorities down on us, and I believe there's probably some federal obligations when it comes to general assistance, but I could be mistaken about that. Anyway, so, and I'm not sure that we'll get to a place that we agree on, but your request has been made for this to be placed on the agenda. Does the council support that idea overall?
I have some.
Councilor Jelinas.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So when I read these, I guess my first question was exactly that. I don't understand, I'm trying to understand the need for the ordinance when it's already state law and we're doing this. So I just can't get my head wrapped around that. I'm just trying to figure out that one. And then the second one, I just found myself thinking, like, are we asking what people's immigration status is? I don't know. That was my first question when I read it. So I kind of come to this with just more questions. I want to understand it better. I happen to think that homelessness is a huge issue. So I want you to know that I believe that. But I guess I didn't understand the ordinance for that when we are mandated to do it by law. So that, I was trying to get understanding around that. And then the second one, like I said, I just found myself asking, like, are we doing that? Are we asking people's immigration status? I'm looking at Deputy.
We're all looking that
I
direction.
know, I'm sorry.
No, that's not a common practice for an officer to pull someone over and say license, registration, and what's your immigration status. There may be occasions where that does come in, where the officer investigating a crime, they're unable to identify the person, and perhaps, that's part of their inquiry to try to identify somebody, but in my nearly 32 years of experience as a law enforcement officer, it was very rare that that even ever came up. We do not enforce federal laws. We can't arrest people for a federal law violation as a City of Lewiston police officer. Now, that being said, we do have officers that are sworn federal officers on task force who may be involved in those instances where there's, dealing with somebody who may be here in the country illegally, but that's not something that they focus on.
Okay.
We've had instances where Border Patrol has come down to Lewiston, gone to the bus station, and they were doing searches up on the border. We never took part of that. We weren't involved in that. When I was a chief, I declined to have our officers even involved in that, just doing those checks, because it's something we can't enforce. So my knowledge as of July of this year, we weren't doing that, and I've spoken to Chief St. Pierre, and he says that's not something that we do.
Okay, thank you for that. I just was wondering what fueled this, that's all, but thank you.
Yeah, and then, can I speak?
Go ahead.
Again, like I can speak on it, my reasoning for the, at the December 7th meeting, but regarding the immigration, there were some constituents that came up to me and asked me to support them on this. And regarding the housing, regardless of we do this, there's still people on the streets, right? Still people who are really struggling, that don't have a decent house, that don't have a shelter, especially coming, in the cold winter. So we need to commit to providing some sort of shelter and housing for our most vulnerable community members.
But I'll fall back on we do that. Our General Assistance Office is open and always inviting, and in fact, there's a large population that choose not to be housed. And, and I'm sorry, I'm sure it's due to mental health issues or substance abuse issues, but our general assistance provides wraparound services. So we do it. We're currently doing it, but there's always going to be a segment of that population that will refuse all services, I think.
Well, yeah, but, we shouldn't blame the homeless.
I'm not blaming the homeless. I'm stating the reasons why.
And I put this forward because I believe that what's already in place is not enough, and that we need to do more, and that's why this proposal will be in front of us December 7th, and I hope that the public and anyone who is supporting it really comes out and speaks on it.
Okay, Councilor Mohammed.
Yeah. I know there's a too big agenda, but specifically, I just want to focus a little bit about law enforcement. First of all, I just want to thank them, because without law enforcement, I don't think so we can even sleep, safely, because born in a country where, right after I was born, there's a civil war broke out. I never even see peacefully in my home country. So, and I think it's been a refugee, but right after I came to this country, I think 17 years ago, and especially the day that I become a U.S. citizen, so one of the officers who was sworn me just told me okay, now this is your home, this is your country, this is very much. So that day, with the peaceful, I just feel the country where I can really call home from that day until today. So I have teenager kids, I know, and going back to the immigration stuff, I live in Lewiston for the past, I think it's 14, 15 years now, and I am very close with law enforcement officer here in this town. I am very much friend all of them. I'm not gonna just say if I did something wrong, maybe they will not arrest me. They arrest me, I know that. But definitely, I'm very close friend with them. I do interpret with them. Most of them, they have my cell phone. They call me even like in the middle of the night if they need my, help. And I have been really like, interpreted for the different cases, like in several, occasion, which is very much different. But I never really like seen any officer that I'm asking any immigration status, I think. So that is like when I see, I think it's a little bit, feel like, what's going on? I mean, we never really experienced this, like, in the back days, I think there is some, like ICE people who maybe have immigration issue, they may just looking for whatever, but that is not even the issue that we had in this town. So, slightly, maybe, I don't know if maybe it's, we focus more like drug and all those stuff, I think I will just say yeah, but not like really, focusing more about like immigration status, what the officer asking. I think they're doing a good job when it comes to like, if they pull over, they just very much asking like what they're supposed to ask us, like Previous chief says, like just bring your registration and, whatever, like regular one, but I never really like see anyone that asking. Maybe if the person is, stand in front of the judge, which is normally like, what's your immigration status, that is like in court, and, and I think it is, I don't really see a lot of rooms that we can really spend a lot of time with this, specifically for law enforcement topic. I don't really know it. I'm still kind of like thinking, but I don't really, I mean, I will have to dig more and maybe just learn, but I don't think so. I don't really see like that much concern of immigration or all those stuff in our city. Yeah, I don't know. I'm still like kind of like everywhere because I'm thinking like, what is coming up, like Councilor Khalid. So I don't really know if this is something, you have heard from maybe, or you have some kind of cases which like the evidence cases. Maybe I think we can go with that and support. But if we don't really have that issue, I mean, for the past 14 years that I lived in this city, I don't think so. Something we definitely need or need more, to spend some time. Although our term is very much like, I don't know, a couple more meetings that left. And for the housing, I will just pause myself. I'm not gonna talk that much yet because a lot of people are already just like, pointed, but yeah, this is something I was just trying to just share myself, like what I've been really seeing in the law enforcement and all those, so.
All right, thank you. Councilor Ray.
I just would say, I'm not necessarily like in favor of both of these proposals as written, go forward, whatever, but I would reflect on the idea that the charter, for whatever reason, allows us to stay in our seats for 5 more meetings after a new slate is elected, for better or for worse. Hopefully, the Charter Commission vote goes a certain way and we get to address that, because I think it does create this tension where we are still here and we should still be making good law and good policy going forward until January 4th when that term ends. We are the stewards of the city until then. So that's just one idea from the conversation that we've been having. I think if this goes through staff and does come back to us, we will have those comments. I think just in my mind, I'm less likely to go for the right to housing if that does create civil liability, as the mayor said, but neither of us are lawyers, so I would love for.
I mean, at the end of it, it suggests that if we violate our ordinance, not the law, but the ordinance, we're open to civil liability. It clearly states that.
So, would be helpful to have staff input on that. In terms of the police immigration status question, it's great, and I respect the former chief and the current chief's work to prevent those situations from coming up, but enshrining that and codifying that seems important to me for if a future issue came up. I mean, you never know who's gonna be in seats next. And so, I feel like I'm more in favor of having that discussion, but I don't know if we're balancing or what we're talking about here. I think it could be a interesting and helpful and productive debates.
All right, so I'm gonna offer the council the one, I think, I'm not convinced there's council support to hear these two, so, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
go
no,
ahead.
I was gonna say, I think that, with that, that next meeting that we have is, 3 weeks from now? It's like December 7th, you said? Yeah, there's.
Is that the next meeting?
Maybe not the next one, but that was, because the next few Tuesdays are in November. But I think that does give time to help answer some of the questions that have been asked here, that Councilor Jelinas and Mohammed have raised, and I think that it does give time to have those discussions, and then that can be, as lawyers look at it, as the city administrator looks at it, those things that there is, I think, ample time to have that debate on that meeting. So that's where I stand on it.
All right, thank you. And I think that we should have an opportunity, maybe even tonight, to suspend the rules to determine if this council even wants to hear these two in the 11th hour of our term. So that is an option for us this evening. And again, I respect the idea that Councilor Khalid is bringing this up. I just, I'm a firm believer, this type of policy in the 11th hour of our term, I personally believe it's inappropriate. If staff-driven policy comes to us, I think you're right. We absolutely, to the last day of our term, we do that. Councilor LaJoy.
Well, I guess I echo many of your statements, and looking at what we have on the books for the city, what we're required to do by state law, as well as federal law, from what I understand. I don't see where there is a need for this type of resolve to come forward. That would be with the law enforcement one, if you will. With the homeless, we're doing everything we possibly can as an entity, a city, to address that. And that showed last year when we had part of the Ramada Inn that was used for shelters. And as it has been said, and also has been viewed, and I think you mentioned it, Mr. Mayor, is that even though we try and extremely hard to take care of our homeless, there are some of the homeless that will not want to take part for one reason or another. And I don't know what those reasons are. Some of them maybe they don't want to take part in the activities that are at the particular establishment or stuff like that, so they don't want to go. I do know, and I will give you an example, last year on the front steps of the Franco Center, I called the police department because when I went there, there was 4 individuals homeless with their bags and so on and so forth. So I called the police department, they came over, and they asked the individuals to go to the shelter up at the Ramada. I think it was 2 days later, one of the individuals I saw still had the same clothes on, was back by the Franco Center in the Bridge area, and I just wondered why. And when I spoke to one of the police officers that happened to help me, he mentioned that they had brought him there and left the individuals there, and that now he's back on the street. So I don't know what transpired. I assume that the individual probably didn't want to stay there for one reason or another. So I think we're doing every single thing that we possibly can. And as you stated, we have a state law that requires us to do that. All right, so on that part. On the part of bringing the resolves forward, at at this time, at this 11th hour, basically, where we're trying to finish up some of our important work, is I find it difficult to take on something else. The other thing is that as we go along, and if it's moved into the next council for whatever reason, then they will have to deal with a situation as well that they were not in the incipient stage except for possibly 2 individuals. So with that, I'm not for moving it forward. So that's where I stand.
Councilor Jelinas?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So my feelings about this are, it isn't really about the 11th hour for me. It's more just the principle of the proposals that I'm questioning, and I've already brought them up. I have great respect for both of these topics, for sure. And I need to preface that, you know, I certainly in my next term, I mean, the whole topic of homelessness and shelters, that's going to come up, and we're going to work on that. I guess I'm just going to go back to what I said earlier. I don't understand the need for an ordinance when there's already a state law mandating this. It's not because I don't want to spend the energy on it. I can't think of a more important topic right now for our community than to be addressing this. And, you know, what was shared tonight was powerful and true, and it needs to be addressed. So for me, it's not about the 11th hour. It's more just about the need for an ordinance about this. I mean, I do think there needs to be work done. But when I think about like civil litigation or something that could result from this, that's something that we need to take seriously as officials. And then again, I'm just going to, the second piece, digging in, and I guess maybe I just don't understand it. I mean, I appreciate what you had to say, a different perspective as well, but like I feel like we're making an issue out of a non-issue, or maybe I'm not understanding it, but I just would have a hard time getting behind this because I asked that question on purpose of, you know, Deputy O'Malley, so because I wanted to know, you know, are we doing that? But it doesn't appear so. So I would have a hard time getting behind this as well.
I think this council, and over the last 2 years, more work has been done on homelessness. Now, we still have a long ways to go, but there are regional meetings in the state. Lewiston is definitely being eyed for some type of homeless shelter, and I agree with that. I think we need that. What I want to make sure is that the state doesn't come in here and create a mega shelter. We need to build a shelter or have a shelter that satisfies the needs of our community, not Franklin County, Oxford County, and every county around us. So I mean, would it be appropriate to have a vote on whether this council wants to move these resolves to the next level? Anyone?
That is your purview.
Okay. So I'm gonna open to the idea of a motion to suspend the rules so that we can decide one way or the other whether we want to move this forward.
So moved.
Okay. Moved by Councilor Ray, seconded by Councilor Mohammed. And this just, we're just deciding on whether we want to suspend the rules, correct? Okay. Do I open that up for questions, or is that directly to a vote?
You could open it up for discussion,
All
sure.
right, any discussion on that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry,
Councilor
I don't
Ray.
know what's happening. Well, I do. So I mean, obviously, I encourage everyone to vote for that so that we can then just make a decision on this and either bring this to the more public forum and engage with our constituents so that we can have a productive conversation, or shut it down tonight. Those are the options.
Okay, any other questions or comments on this? Councilor Rowe.
I'd say I think it is important to have public input on it because I think there are some of these issues that, you know, I don't have direct experience with, but other constituents, other members of the public will, and I think it is important to make sure that those voices are heard if they want to be heard. So.
Okay, thank you. And I'll just note that we have had many public comments over the past 2 years, so it isn't like we've blocked out the public.
Yes,
In
no,
fact,
I wasn't trying to imply that.
Yeah, no, I recognize that, thank you. All right, I see no other questions, so, I'm sorry.
It's to suspend the
Yeah,
rules.
I'm still kind of like just worried if this become attention, like, I don't know.
Yeah, so what we're doing right now is just getting permission to even vote on it. So this vote is just for us to suspend our rules so that we can talk about the next item.
All right.
Do you understand?
I
Okay.
got it, but the whole topic is confusing me a little bit, but yeah.
So once we vote on this, then we'll have discussion about the actual ordinance changes, okay?
All right.
Just one more comment.
Yes.
I really want, the council to consider putting this to December 7th because we may have different viewpoints and perspectives and differences, but let's hear what the public has to say. If, especially regarding the immigration status, we all have different life backgrounds, different experiences. So there may be constituents and residents, right, out there who may get asked about immigration status. And if we're not asking immigration status, then let's commit to putting it in the rule book. And regarding the housing, again, winter is coming, and I feel like, especially if there's any homeless folks out there right now, any workers in the homeless, advocacy center, and they want to come and speak on it, we should give them the opportunity to do so, so that the council should not shut this down without public notice.
Okay. My response would be is that we have had 2 years of public comment and advocates for the homeless, and the city is responding in a way that more so than in my entire time in public service here. I do have a former law enforcement background, so I think tying the hands of our police officers when there's no evidence that there's misjustice happening, I think is a terrible message. I'm personally convinced if we pass something like that, we would lose police officers in this city. But anyway, the motion on the table is just whether or not we want to suspend the rules. So can we call the roll on that?
Sure, Counselor from Ward 1?
Yes.
Ward 2?
Yes.
Ward 3?
Yes.
Ward 4?
No.
Ward 5?
Yes.
Ward 7?
Yes.
And Mr. Mayor?
Yes,
Motion passed by a vote of 6-1.
thank you. We were just voting on suspending the rules.
I realize.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay.
I understand.
Yeah, I apologize. All right, thank you.
So would a motion be in order then to place these two items on the December 7th agenda?
Or a motion could be in order to not entertain these
Well,
items.
I'm making mine a motion then. Give me the option.
Are you making a motion?
I would like to make a motion to place these two proposals on the December 7th agenda, along with staff input.
Second.
Okay, moved by Counselor Ray, seconded by Counselor Roebuck. Questions or comments from the council? I'm just gonna reiterate, so again, I think Counselor Jelinas said it very clearly that it's like we're trying to solve a problem that isn't a problem, or at least there's no evidence of that at this point. When it comes to ordering our officers to never or not ask on immigration status, I think there's no evidence that they do that inappropriately. And then the shelter, a couple of reasons. One, I think we're doing everything we can, and I think, like Councilor Jelinas said, it's going to be a big part of the discussion, I think, of our next city council. But also, if we vote something like this in tonight, we strap the next council with a significant budget item, because there's going to be significant costs if it goes beyond what we're doing already. So that's my thoughts, and I would encourage councilors to vote no to Councilor Ray's motion. Councilor Ray.
Just something you said was that if we vote yes on this tonight, that would put this into a budget and hamstring a future council, but this would just move it to further debate among this body and a vote among this body. Who knows what that conversation would look like on December 7th, but it would be a full conversation with public notice, and it would be a vote of this body. I mean, we could you make that decision when you have all the information. I don't think tonight's vote is representative of that.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, to the public.
Just walked in on the tail end, but I did want to acknowledge the concern around asking for immigration status. I think we all have to be very careful because everybody, like you mentioned, walks of life is very different. So to make blanket statements as if there is no evidence, there's clearly stories, so those stories should be somewhat investigated. And I think we are already in the process of doing that. The police force has been very open to implicit bias trainings, to dissolving biases from all levels and working with us come the new year. So it has been in the forefront. Growing up down south, it's something that's been asked of all communities, unfortunately, and it's not taken into consideration, so I appreciate you bringing that up. But the city has it on its radar, and the police chief has been completely open to all trainings, no matter how long or extensive, to try to resolve these issues. So I just wanted to let you all know that we are working on that.
Thank you. Any other public comment, ma'am? Either one. Yeah.
Again, my name is Sonia. I would just like to once again just state that although homelessness is not a topic that is not new to you guys, I will just say your example of what took place with those particular individuals is just one story, sir. I have been on the streets for endless hours, and I interact with many homeless people who do not have access to resource. They do not know where to go, and the shelters that they have tried to get into are full. I have not met one person who has stated that they would not be willing to be in a shelter for any reason. I do appreciate what you stated, sir, and what you witnessed. However, that is just one experience. There's many people out there with many different stories, sir, and I want you to know that although there are many people out there with mental issues or that may have substance abuse concerns, a lot of those people didn't have those issues before they became homeless. A lot of those people are suffering because of the coronavirus. There's people who are suffering because they lost their jobs or lost loved ones. There is a lot of reasons why a person becomes homeless. I used to be homeless, sir, okay? And I did not put myself in that situation. I never stated I would not go to a shelter for any reason, as you suggested earlier. Again, that's kind of a blanket statement to assume that people are turning down resources because they don't want to abide by certain rules. That is not the case for everyone, sir. And we do have a total disconnect here with shelters. I understand you guys are doing the absolute best that you can, and that's certainly appreciated. But we still cannot play a blind eye to the many, many, many people who are on the streets right now. And I just want to lastly say, when I used to drive through this area, I did not notice homeless people as much as I do now that my feet are on the ground. And I feel like to make policies and procedures, people's feet should be on the ground to see what the actual needs are, because we can't make blanket statements and make procedures based on one incident or just a few incidents when we have hundreds of people that are in need. There's hundreds of stories, and we need to consider them all. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public? Seeing none, back to the council. Councilor Joy.
I just had one. Do we have anyone that checks on the homeless situation and the number of beds available on a daily basis or anything like that?
Yes, our General Assistance Director does.
Do we have any type of small report that,
I can ask her to produce it. I know she's been checking frequently, and there have been beds available to it.
so on the average, when she or whoever calls, they usually have beds available?
That's correct.
Okay, multiple beds?
They've been ranging between 5 to 7 beds.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Ray.
And that is at a religious shelter?
That's correct.
Thank you.
And for the record, we've had religious shelters in our community for many, many years. And
I don't think they're a bad thing. I just think
No,
they're
I
not
think-
for everyone.
I agree. But every time people say, oh, religious shelters, not you, I'm not suggesting that. But they have done a great service for our community over the years. Only recently, I think, have we been understanding that a low barrier shelter is an important. And I do see that at some level in Lewiston's future, but hopefully it's at our terms and not, the state's terms and others. All right, so I think can you just read the motion again for us?
Sure, to place the 2 proposals on the December 7th agenda along with staff input.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments from the council? Call the roll, please.
Counselor from Ward 1?
Yes.
Ward 2?
Yes.
Ward 3?
Yes?
Ward 4?
No.
Ward 5?
Yes.
Ward 7?
No.
And Mr. Mayor?
No.
Motion passed by a vote of 4 to 3.
All right, thank you.
So, Mr. Mayor, can I get some clarification from the council? Clearly, there are some stipulations in the both proposed ordinance that will have legal ramifications that we can seek our city attorney's advice on it. Is it the desire of the council to workshop this item on November 11th, or I'm sorry, November 30th, to obtain perhaps different language on some of these whereases to reflect legal attorney? Because once we take it and advertise it on the 7th, there would be a second reading on the 21st, and then the ordinance is in place. So I think it's pertinent that the council needs to hear from the city attorney and some other information that it would give the police department time to evaluate what circumstance they would need. Immigration status, I would think our MMA self-insurance would have problems with the Section E about essentially putting a civil liability into the city and in our own ordinance. That's not something, we typically provide immunity to us. And then looking at the after-tax income threshold, I would advise against that because that can be manipulated based upon filing status, and that typically the leader of median income and low income is the Housing and Urban Development, and they'd never use after-tax status because of that purpose. So there would be elements of both of these ordinances that I would like to kind of bring to the council in the workshop setting to see what their temperature is for changing some of the verbiage in here.
Councilor Ray.
I think it's critical to have the city attorney weigh in on this. That's what I intended when I said city staff and their supporting documents. So I think that's critical. I don't know, November 30th wasn't on the calendar already, was it?
No, we would have to add that as a workshop setting.
And do we have a workshop before the December 7th meeting?
No.
Okay.
We have one, the meeting of the 7th. We have 2 already slated for that
Like,
date.
at 6 PM, we have a workshop.
We have
already
2 of
slated.
them already
Okay.
slated,
Okay.
correct. Which is why I'm proposing the November 30th.
Okay.
Councilor Joy?
If that's the case, then what I'd like to do is, if that was a motion, that we bring it to the staff, I would say that, to add to that, I would include making sure that there's a public notice, which would be what, in the paper for what, 10 days?
I'm sorry, so just for clarification, are you
Would-
talking about the
With
November
a public
30th
notice
workshop?
as, yeah, for the workshop.
Right, so for a workshop, we don't run legal ads in the paper for workshops. We
Okay.
would put it on the city website, on the
Website.
calendar on the city website, effective tomorrow, if we know that we're gonna be having a workshop on the 30th. And then the agenda would be distributed on the Friday before the Tuesday meeting, like usual. And the agenda is sent out to, the media and our regular distribution point. But we would not place a legal ad
Okay.
for the 30th workshop.
Okay, so I guess what I would do is I would indicate to send it to the staff, number one, and then the public notice, which is automatic, I assume. And I definitely, with the situation with the 2 items, I definitely want a representative, a lawyer, our city lawyer, available to go through that. And I don't know, I'm just going to mention this, but should it go to the Housing Committee as well?
We can definitely see if they want to take up the item on their next agenda.
So would that involve them in the Housing Committee, where they don't really have anything to do with the homeless, do they?
They do make recommendations to the city council.
Okay, all right. So I guess I would like to go in that general direction, if that's permissible.
Yeah, so the only concern I have about is the housing committee, because they've already made recommendation to us. We have their recommendations in hand about transitional housing and stuff. So to go back there, that's the only concern I would have. But I'm also not opposed to it. Councilor Khalid.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a quick question. Do we have a meeting on the 23rd? No, okay. Then I am good with the workshop on the 30th.
Okay. So is everybody else available for the 30th for a workshop?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll have to
Okay.
check, but one way or another, I'll make it.
Yeah, I blocked out every Tuesday period at the start of the year, so I'm sure most of us did.
I will be unavailable that night.
Councilor Khalid.
No, I'm just trying to see, like, how can we have full council presentation? I guess we won't be able to have that.
You know what?
I'll watch it after.
Yeah, for the workshop, I don't think that's urgent. I think, the important time wouldn't be when we actually take it up as an agenda item, but. All right, you all set?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Any other business?
So we have nothing on the 23rd of November, just okay.
No.
That's correct, nothing on the 23rd.
All right, with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, thank you.